Okay, right. So, what do you like about your work?
So, yeah, hi Tom. I'm in the motor trade, and uh, I got into the motor trade because I'm a passionate car lover, and ever since I was a young kid, all I could really think of, dream of doing would be to drive a car.
Yeah.
And then when I got to 17 and passed my test and was able to drive a car, and after I left school and to be fair, didn't do as well as I had expected. Getting a job within the motor trade seemed to be the most natural
Yeah.
progression. And what I found is that certainly at the lower end of the entry level of the spectrum, when you start off in the automotive world, is it is all very much about the cars. You know,
Okay.
from a salesman's perspective, if they're trying to sell a car in the showroom, it's about which car does the customer want to buy. From a technician's perspective in the workshop, it's about servicing or fixing or maintaining that vehicle, and it's all about the nuts and bolts. And
Literally nuts and bolts.
yeah, literally nuts and bolts. All about putting the car back together and making it work again. And then my career within the motor trade is now 20 years old this year. I'm coming up to August is my 20th anniversary. And in that period of time, I've done a lot of roles within the motor trade, within the automotive world. But what tends to happen is as you go up the ladder, it becomes much less about the cars and much more about the people. And with people comes diversity. You know, you never know what you're going to get. And I'm talking about, and I mean people in the most generic sense. That's customers, fellow colleagues, both up and down the ladder. So dealing with superiors and juniors. And there's all those challenges that managing people brings. And that for me really has been, and I never realized that, nor did I even consider that that would be something that I would be doing when I started in the motor trade. Um, but yeah, absolutely. My day job now is just about looking after people. It's
Yeah.
not, it's, I could be working for a supermarket chain or uh, some other kind of retailing industry that had nothing to do with cars. But I've got the best of both worlds now in that my hobby and my passion for cars outside of work, I'm still within that arena and I can still immerse myself in as much or as little of that world as I'd like to. But fundamentally, the main business of the day is making sure my staff, our people, do what they're supposed to be doing, and they in turn give a level of service to our customers who pay the bills at the end of the day. So the answer to your question in a very long and roundabout fashion is the diversity of the role, the diversity of the people that you meet in the role, and the number of different types of activities that you do along the way as a result.
Yeah. Yeah. And how did you get started?
So, as I said, I did my A levels at school. Didn't quite, they didn't quite go to plan, let's say. Uh, I had a spell at a university, which again, you know, didn't turn out to be what I thought it would be. And I ended up thinking, well, you know, what am I going to do with myself? I don't know what to do with my life. Obviously, I've got to do something. And I ended up, initially, I ended up working for a guy with no experience. The guy just sort of took me under his wing. He had a little backstreet garage in North Devon, which is where my mum was living at the time. And he just let me used to basically follow him about and watch what was going on.
Okay.
You know, real sort of ground roots type stuff. And eventually obviously because I had an interest in it, I think mainly, he realised that I could be more useful than just watching him doing what he was doing and following him about. And and I started to do a few bits and pieces with my hands, you know, not trained other than trained myself, and obviously watching what he was doing, but not formally trained through college or anything like that.
Okay.
And this, I suppose, lasted about a year. And then I moved back to Reading, which is where I'd gone to school. And I just happened to, again, needing a job, I happened to see an advert in the job centre that was advertising an administration role at a main Ford dealer in the town. And I went along for the interview. And I'd like to say I presented myself to be the best that I possibly was at the time.
Yeah.
And with a little bit of luck and a tailwind, I got through the door.
Yeah.
And that really was the start of my motor trade proper career journey. And I was right at the bottom of the ladder. I did all the skivvy tasks like making the tea and, filing and answering the telephone and all that kind of stuff. But I was interested in the subject matter. And at the end of the day, I was kind of on my own by this point. I'd left home and I had bills to pay and food to buy and all that kind of stuff, as I'm sure everybody does.
Yeah.
And it was important for me that I succeeded and I didn't stay at the bottom of this food chain for too long. And sure enough, certainly within the first year, the first promotion came, and I'm pleased to say that was one of a series of progression that then I went up the ladder accordingly. And I'm now 20 years later looking after 16 departments, service and parts for a very large national motor retailer with over 130 businesses in the portfolio. So, staff-wise, reporting to me, both directly and indirectly, I would estimate is, oh crikey, I've not even thought about it. It must be well over 200, if not more than that.
Okay.
Yeah, so a significant number of people that report to me now. From the early days as effectively the filing boy and the tea boy. So and like I say, I suppose that old adage of what you put in, you get out. So I was very keen. I was very hungry for progression. I would go the extra mile, and bit of hard work as well, and you get to where you are now.
Well, that quite nicely leads to the third question. What advice would you give to someone starting out in the trade?
So I think, and obviously I've now subsequently been on the other side of the fence and interviewed many people over the course of the last 10 years in management. And I think you need to be firstly, be yourself. Absolutely. Don't try and be somebody you're not. If you haven't got the skills and you haven't got the training that we are looking for, then far better that you're open and honest about that than try and, suggest you do and then find out that you can't actually do the job. But I think portray yourself to be the best you can possibly be. I was given a chance effectively by a guy. He was, I'm sure, not 100% sure that I could do the job he was interviewing me for. I'm talking about my very first role. But he gave me that chance. And what I always look for in an interview is that flicker, that sort of X factor that people have, and you can't really put your finger on it. You just know that person's going to be, have good character, good levels of integrity and commitment, and they're going to, work hard for you, and you're going to be rewarded as a company accordingly. Yeah. So, I think that's probably the most difficult question that you've asked me is how would you do it again? Because there was a lot of luck and not all of it was good judgment along the way. You do have to learn by your mistakes as well. But I think the motor trade has many positions, diverse across its range of jobs. That it is not. I mean, it's historically considered to be a male-dominated environment, and I'm pleased to say that's that balance is leveling up nicely. We have lots of ladies in all aspects of the motor trade now, selling cars, fixing cars, and everything in between. And there are roles to suit different lifestyles, part-time, full-time. And at the end of the day, you're dealing with this great British public that, are all very, very different. So it's a difficult one, but my advice to you would be to give it a go, be yourself, and don't think about it too much. If the job's right for you, you'll get through, I'm sure.